Alright, so graphing linear equations. We're going to talk about graphing lines again, as well as starting to explore this concept of inequalities. So you guys have seen the greater than. Oops, let me get back my pen. You've got your greater than, less than symbol, okay? And I'm just going to put dotted here, and I'm going to explain what that is in a minute, and some of you may remember what that means. Then you've got greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, and this is just a solid line. So when you're graphing inequalities, the first thing you want to do is determine whether or not you're going to have a dotted or a solid line. So in this case, because it's just the greater than symbol, it's going to be a dotted line. This will help when we're graphing the line. And then second step is graphing the linear equation. It becomes an inequality when we're shading, and that's our last step, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. So I'm going to look over here and I'm going to say, alright, I got 2x minus 6. I know this has a positive slope because the slope is a positive number. My starting point, my y-intercept, is going to be negative 6. So I'm going to go down here, and that takes me right there. So my slope's telling me to go up, so I'm going to go up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1, and so forth. And I'm going to do quite a few dots in this equation just so you guys can see. Now, remember we had determined that this is going to be a dotted line. What we're going to do is we're actually going to just put a dotted line in there. Oops. You guys get it. So there's my dotted line. My next thing is the shading. Now, the shading works like this. If I'm going to, I'm just going to do this a little bit thicker. If you're going to shade, alright, and if this says y is greater than, that means that all of my solutions are going to be more than above that line. This side is above, okay, that's why it gets shaded. Okay, so all of this is going to be shaded, okay, except for that line, but I didn't do a very good job in a couple spots. But you guys get the idea. If it said less than, then that would mean we'd go below or right of the line. If it was a horizontal line, it's easier to tell above and below. But if you needed to, the way to check is to take a point. Alright, let me change back my... So, let's say we take 0, 6. Alright, I'm just going to take that ordered pair. If I plug in a 0 in here, okay, into my equation, my inequality, you're going to end up getting, so I'm going to plug in my 6, so I got 6 is greater than 2 times x, and that's going to be our 0 minus 6, okay. So in this case, this whole equation gets written as 6 is greater than negative 6. Okay, this checks out. This makes sense. Now, if we picked an ordered pair down below here, that wouldn't work. So that's just one way for you guys to check. Okay, so I've got one more example for you, and I'm going to say pause this equation or pause this slide, and then in a minute we'll come back and we'll look at this. Alright, you guys should have graphed this equation out for yourself, and I'm just going to switch up colors here. So in this case, you've got a solid line because it's less than or equal to. So that's what you should have done first, is determine whether you're doing solid or dotted. Now we're going to graph the line. So my starting point in this case is positive 2, because that is my y-intercept, yeah. And here you've got negative x, so that means my slope, I'm just going to rewrite this as negative 1x plus 2. That means my slope is negative 1 over 1. So it means I go down 1, right 1. Down 1, right 1. Down 1, right 1. And so forth. Okay, and I'll just kind of keep doing this for a little bit, so that way. Remember, if we're going in the opposite direction, it's just the opposite of where you went to begin. So if we went down 1, right 1, we'd go up 1, left 1. If we're going above my, or in this case, above my y-intercept. So now we've got, do my best. Oh, yeah, I did not do my best on drawing this line. Hold on. Let's do this. So you guys probably have this awesome line, and I think I might cheat a little bit and make my line this way. Alright, so now we've got this line, okay? Our next goal is to, yes, shade. So we need to pick either to shade above or below. So in this case, we're shading below because it's less than or equal to, okay? So this means that this side here gets our shading. And you really need to make sure that you're shading the proper side. Okay. Alright, this concludes our graphing linear inequalities.